How great my grief, my joys how few, since first it was my fate to know thee, nor memory shaped old times anew, nor loving kindness helped to show thee. How great my grief, my joys how few, since first it was my fate to know thee.
Oublier, the strangest and smallest YouTube account you have never seen or heard of. Today, I'll be analyzing the account and assembling my own theories and interpretations of what it could mean. Let's not waste any time, because I've never seen anybody talk about this before. First off, a general overview of the account. It is called Oublier, but I'm probably pronouncing that way wrong.
Oublier. Oublier.
Putting this in a translator reveals that oublier is French and translates to forget. Along with this, the username of the account is I hate when I can't remember, so we can already make the assumption that the videos must relate to something about memory. The account is extremely small, with only 4 subscribers and 14 public videos. In total, it has just 122 views. There are 3 chapters, all multiple videos in length. That covered, let's get right into the cryptic, haunting videos. The first video, simply titled Oublier Chapter 1, which I'm not going to pronounce right, the entire video, recites a poem from an old English writer named Thomas Hardy.
How great my grief, my joys how few, since first it was my fate to know thee, nor memory shaped old times anew, nor loving kindness helped to show thee. How great my grief, my joys how few, since first it was my fate to know thee.
By Thomas Hardy. The narrator of the poem talks about the pain and grief that comes from knowing a certain person and having relations with them. This fate makes them miserable and unhappy. Happiness is scarce. The memory portion speaks of how the narrator cannot even look back on old good times for comfort because there were none. The poem overall is depressive and about the pain felt in a horrible relationship. The structure of the poem represents a looping, agonizing, broken mental state. That said, let's see how this ties into the overarching story being told, because I promise you, it gets a lot more interesting from here. The second video on the channel, titled Grief, begins the development of the story actually being told. We are introduced to 2 characters having a conversation. One says, "This is what you imagined for yourself, right? I can give it to you, Maverick." We see what appears to be a couple photo. Here's the brightened version. Maverick, the blue voice, questions the strange voice. The video takes a dark turn when the voice says that it is the thing that can bring Maverick's wife back from her hell she's living in. Maverick seems enticed and intrigued, asking if that is the truth. The motives of the strange voice become even more questionable when it says yes, but it needs something from Maverick first. It says, "I'm hungry." It seems Maverick has been baited by the strange voice. But what is the strange voice exactly? Some sort of higher power? How is Maverick able to communicate with it? Or is it meant to be representative of a broken, harmful force in his life? What exactly happened to Maverick's wife? There are lots of questions, and only one way to learn. So let's move on to the next... Wait, this video doesn't end here. If you look hard enough and do some deciphering, we can actually find 2 more unlisted videos that branch off of this one, that give us more knowledge and information regarding the story and this twisted situation. If you go to around 1 minute and 12 seconds into the video and enable closed captions, you will find a hidden YouTube link. Typing it into your search bar opens an unlisted video called Tape 214. This video is a bit cryptic and confusing. It's very dark, but I think I understand what's going on here. While it plays in the background, let's take a look at the description. I'm doing it to bring her back. This isn't who I am. You have to trust. Wait, is this who I am? I've been doing this for too long. I don't remember. Why can't I remember? Help me, please. Why can't I remember? What am I doing this for? We can make the logical assumption that this description is a plea from our troubled protagonist from the last episode. Lines like, "I'm doing it to bring her back," show that he has accepted the bidding of the strange voice, agreeing to feed it to save his wife. But are we actually certain how much time has passed between tape 241 and its origins in grief? Lines like, "I've been doing this for too long, I don't remember," suggest that it has been a long time since Maverick's original deal with the voice with the intention of bringing back his wife. Now, let's analyze the contents of the video. It is dark, found camera footage, supposedly recorded by Maverick completing the voice's bidding. We can make out a bed and a desk lamp showing we are in Maverick's bedroom. The audio completely cuts off late in the video. We see the strange voice say, "I need more," at the end of the video, confirming Maverick is doing the bidding of the voice, but how much has he done already? How long has it been? There is an even bigger, easily overlooked detail that suggests it has been a long time since grief. Refer back to the title of the video, tape 241. That 241 isn't just any random number. This is the number of times that this has happened. The number of times a strange voice has asked for more of whatever he is asking for. The number of times Maverick has complied. 241 times. This is why the video is so cryptic and why there is a lack of explanation or exposition in the video. Maverick has 240 other recordings that are just like this. We can assume that it has been a very long time since the original deal, months, if not years. What exactly is Maverick doing? How is Maverick feeding him? For now, I think it's safe to make the assumption, with this being horror and all, that Maverick is feeding the voice people. Maverick is abducting or killing people for the voice, and the voice consumes them. This leads me to believe the voice is some kind of demon or supernatural entity, definitely something beyond human. But wait, going back to grief, opening the description reveals a string of numbers that, when translated through a hexadecimal cipher, reveals another YouTube link. This leads us to another hidden video called "The Story About the Thing Telling Me to Do Things I Don't Want to Do." Here, we finally received some more information about our mysterious white voice. The voice telling Maverick to do things he doesn't want to do. We start by following Maverick through what I can only assume is his own house. He peels back his floorboards and crawls underneath his house, leading him to a tunnel. Did you catch that? For a singular frame, we can finally see our white text friend. Our hypothetical demon. He is here. He is always present where Maverick is present, as he has already begun to dig himself deeper into Maverick's brain. We see the effects of this immediately after, when Maverick finds a book on the ground. It reads, "Musha, 10 times. Do not trust it. It cannot bring your most wanted desires to life. It will only steal what makes you human. You're redacted." Wait, what was that? For one frame, we can read this redacted text. "Your memories." The description is also from Maverick's point of view, and shows his collapsing mental state. Where is it from? Hell? It doesn't feel like a demon. I don't feel possessed. I'm fine. I'll let it stay. I trust it. I will bring her. We see that despite the warning, Maverick continues to give in to who we now know as Musha. The book recites his name many times. This book is very questionable. Where does it come from? Who does it come from? How did this person know about Musha without having their brain manipulated like poor old Maverick? How did they know about what Musha does? How old exactly is this book? How is the text in the book white? Why not black? Doesn't make sense. We have a lot of questions, but if we are to believe the teachings of this book, then there are many things we do know for certain now. Our strange white voice is some sort of supernatural entity known as Musha, known for planting itself in people's brains and eating their memories. We can assume that it uses other humans as fuel to do this, as Maverick continually has to abduct and feed people to Musha. We know he at least did this 241 times. Initially, this is for the saving of Maverick's wife. Though we see Maverick losing his grip and forgetting his reasons, forgetting about his wife. It is no longer about his wife. He's slowly losing his own will and becoming a puppet of Musha. And is his wife even alive? Did she die? Is Musha keeping her in captivity? It is at least clear that he has no intention of actually returning Maverick's wife. It is likely she has been dead for quite a while, and Musha is merely using the idea of her presence as bait to control Maverick. Well, there's only one way to get answers to our questions. Let's keep going. The third public video on the channel, titled "Inside, Not a Possession," shows a physical manifestation of our idea of Musha being inside of Maverick, as he is actually physically underneath his skin. Throughout the entire video, we see a gross wall of flesh and hear disturbing crawling sounds. This is reinforced by Maverick's pleas in both the video and the description, which I will play now. I feel weird now. There's this feeling inside of me. Something is crawling. Is it you? What is happening to me? I'm scared. Help me! We see that Maverick does in fact know that Musha is inside of him, and he knows he's scared and doesn't like it. Yet his mind is further corrupted to disregard these facts and continue to feed Musha, as we see in the description of the video.
I will continue even if I feel sick. I feel like I'm dying. My skin is just pale as white. I feel as my life source is being taken from me. Maybe that is the thing, yet I will not stop. I still believe. I will not forget you, my love.
We can assume that the cutoff is meant to be my love. Though why is it cut off? I think it is meant to represent the death of Maverick. The death of Maverick as a human. The death of his humanity. His memories have been completely wiped. This is unfortunately confirmed in the final video of Chapter 1. This video is very direct, as Musha has both become strong and weakened Maverick enough to be blunt with him. He tells Maverick to not be afraid, that he has completely forgotten who he once was. Maverick is completely paralyzed, stuck looking at static on the television. Musha says his hunger is no longer. He successfully used Maverick to gain strength. He tells Maverick that Musha now owns him if he doesn't mind. We continuously see Musha say ironic things like this, like the ironic title of Inside, Not a Possession. I mean, come on. Musha is treating Maverick like a mere possession just to be played with and taken. Musha has his own twisted sense of humor, but it may suggest that he has some sort of humanity in there. Musha slowly fades into the background of the video, finally showing us his face directly. For a brief moment, Maverick knows that all of this is wrong. He exclaims,
"What have you done with my body? I can't move. I can't feel. I can feel you crawling inside of me. What have you done? Where's...
As we thought after video 3's description, Maverick is gone. He has entirely forgotten about his wife. But then, we see the complete disturbing loss of any semblance of awareness that remained, as Musha merely says, Oublier. Maverick forgets everything. He forgets he is human and begins mindlessly worshipping Musha.
Yes, I understand. Musha, my god and my king. You will take over this planet and rule as you were once made to. I will follow you, follow every step of the way. I am no longer human. I need not remember who I was. I'm yours only. I want you inside of me.
Maverick is dead. His mind and body are now mere vessels of Musha, but let's look back at this. This raises some questions. There is a very important and curious line dropped here. You will take over this planet and rule as you were once made to. If this is a part of Musha's vessel speaking through Maverick's body, surely it must know more about Musha than we do now. Does this mean that Musha originally wanted to rule the world he was made to? How old is Musha exactly? What exactly is he? So many questions. That is the end of this video and this chapter. Well, let's briefly summarize everything we've learned thus far. The story in Grief begins with Maverick, a family man devastated by the mysterious unexplained loss of his wife, talking to some sort of demonic entity named Musha that promises it can bring his wife back from the hell she is living in. This isn't brought up again. It suggests that Musha was torturing her, but it's likely she was dead the entire time and Musha merely used this as bait for Maverick. Maverick complies and immediately begins to do Musha's bidding, capturing people and feeding them to the demon. We don't know exactly how long this went on for, but we know he at least killed 241 people in this manner. It was likely months or years of this. This is initially only for the promise of Maverick's wife being saved, but as Musha slowly begins to gain his strength, he roots himself deeper into Maverick's head and body, almost as if planting himself there. Musha feeds on Maverick's memories, stealing his humanity and turning him into a mindlessly devout follower of Musha. We know Musha has done this to others in the past. The book we see in Grief is proof enough of that. It is briefly mentioned that Musha's purpose was once to rule the planet, but when was this once? How old is he exactly? I'm sure you're dying to know, as am I. Just don't die around this guy, he's gonna use your body as a vessel. Alright, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into Chapter 2. Things will only get more convoluted from here. Chapter 2 immediately begins with a video called I Wish, Chapter 2. We hear different voices making different wishes towards a well, supposedly a wishing well, until one specific voice stands out. Rather than reading exactly what is in the video, which is just a simplified and lesser version of the description, We are just going to read this character speak from the description. So let's take a look at that. There, we can find a poem that gives us some very important info. I'll only be reading about 50% of this because it's long and half of it is about the same thing. The wishing well sits upon the hill. Make a wish, the wishing well will fulfill. Here comes a many walking up the hill. Then the many spoke the words, I wish upon this well on the hill. Oh dear, I wish for many things to come true. Heal my grandma who is ill. Then comes a man built of sin. He stood upon the wishing well on the hill. He stared and stared, not a wish in his mind, he only stood still. The man spoke, make me a wish so I could kill. No, that is not my wish for the wishing well on this hill. What shall I wish for, the man thought? Shall I bring hell or shall I bring guilt? I have my wish for the wishing well of the hill. I wish to be something more than human. The wishing well stared in confusion. Make me the wish, I said so do it! The wishing well thought, and think the well did. Where is my wish? I want it, now give it! The man yelled on as minutes passed, till the well spoke. You asked. The man stood still, frozen in shock. Your name is Musha, and you shall not be mocked. That was the last of the wishing well on the hill. Make a wish, the wishing well will fulfill, but none will recall the cost it will instill. The story of the wishing well upon the hill. That was a direct, huge help to figuring out the pieces of our story. We are now following Musha in the past, learning that he was once a human, a man of many sins. We are left to wonder, though, how long ago this was. What time era is this set in? What is the difference in the times between chapters 1 and 2? Well, in any case, we now know the story of Musha, a man of sin who wished to a wishing well to be something more than human. That wish was granted, and the wishing well disappeared or stopped working, as we see with that was the last of the wishing well on the hill. Let's move on to the next video and see if we continue to follow the story through the past. The second video of chapter 2 is titled Up Sticks. It opens and we immediately hear and see what looks like archaeologists digging in an open area. While digging, they open up and discover a strange hole in the ground that leads to a tunnel. Two voices we have never seen before that I assume are archaeologists are confused. What's that?
I don't know. I think it's a well. Underground? Should we? Yeah, sure. Could be a very old well.
They find a well underground in a tunnel. The wishing well. It moved here? And by the way, does this tunnel look familiar to you too? It should, because this is the same tunnel we see beneath Maverick's house in the Grief video. Boom! These are archaeologists before Maverick's home was ever built here, digging and finding the hidden tunnel beneath the ground. But what is up with the well in the underground tunnel? Well, it's obviously the wishing well we saw in the last video. The two archaeologists approach the well.
What does it look like to you? A regular old well, probably from the 16th century. There's grass around.
Boom. So, is this video a jump forward in time from the last, but still in the past compared to Maverick's time? I think that's fair to assume. Is this well truly from the 16th century? That would make Musha at least over 400 years old if that's when the last video is meant to take place. But I think that's also a fair assumption to make. After all, he did become more than human. And why is the well here, not on the well-established hill? Get it? Well-established? Well, it grew legs and walked away. That sounds like a joke, but it actually isn't much of an exaggeration. First, let's take a look at the description. I do not bother to make a rhyme. The wishing well upon the hill is no longer. It shall not and cannot serve any more wishes. It has moved houses. So it literally up and left. This is further solidified by the seemingly random title, Up Sticks, which is an old saying that means to pack all your things and move away. So, yes, the well just moved itself. But wait, similar to the Grief video, there is a video hidden inside of this one. Turning on closed captions at around 22 seconds in, we see another hidden YouTube link. This leads to a video called Things Are Not the Way They Seem. And it is just a continuation of the video we just saw with the two archaeologists. The title suggests things are about to go horribly wrong. Sure enough, they do. The archaeologists have two more lines of dialogue, continuing past what we already saw.
He's hungry. What?
We then hear an awful crunch sound before we see Musha, who says,
"You have done it. I'm no longer hungry."
This initially seemed confusing to me, but then it hit me. The red archaeologist was under Musha's control, just like what we see happen to Maverick in the present day. Just like Maverick was killing and feeding people to Musha, so was our red text man. It's likely that the red one lured the yellow one out to kill them and feed them to Musha. We now know that our theory from earlier that Musha had been doing this to lots of people for a long time is confirmed. I believe that Musha has never had his hunger truly fulfilled. He only says this to people when he is done weakening them into a puppet, but we see how he continues to move and take new victims. But there is still a question I have about this video. Where are the other archaeologists we see at the beginning of Up6 during all of this? Only the red and yellow one go down, and we only see the red one kill one person. Well, I have a theory. The other archaeologists witnessed the event and likely saw Musha and his control on the red one, someone whom they probably knew for a long time and realized was not acting right, like he had lost who he was. So before getting the hell out of there, they left a warning. Archaeologists study outdoors, searching for remnants of old things and objects. When you study, you take notes. Where do archaeologists do this? In logbooks or notebooks. I believe that they wrote as follows. Musha, 10 times. Do not trust it. It cannot bring your most wanted desires to life. It will only steal what makes you human, your memories. They then threw the book into the tunnel where Musha resides and ran. Tons and tons of years later, Maverick finds the same logbook in the same tunnel now underneath his house and reads it in the grief episode. Boom! Ladies and gents, that's a film theory if I've ever seen one. But there are still questions. Why did the wishing well move down to that tunnel in the first place? Where is it in Maverick's time? Let's continue to the next video. Welcome to hell. This video had me reeling and overthinking for hours, but I think I've finally come to a solid conclusion. Welcome to, by far, the longest video on the channel, titled, I Feel Lost and Scared. I must seek the well upon the hill to heal me from the voices in my head. This video jumps back even further in time, since before Musha even became Musha. We watch Musha as a human in a horrible mental state. We learn that he has murdered people and is constantly haunted by the guilt of his sins as he hears the voices of his victims constantly. He says the same thing he would later tell the wishing well.
I want to be something more than human.
He visits a graveyard and a church, where he speaks to a priest.
I can still hear their voices, Father. The people that I've...
You want to be a god?
When you say it like that, yes.
That is blasphemy. I never asked your name.
It isn't important.
Everyone is important.
Not me. Have you ever heard of the tales of the well? I'm going to find it. I'm going to make my wish, Father.
Wishing wells aren't real, Musha.
What did you call me?
Why would the priest say this, even though Musha is still a human and not Musha? We'll cover that in just a moment, don't worry. We then follow Musha as he finds the well upon the hill, which leads directly into the video, A Wish, Chapter 2. The wishing well speaks. Hello there, I am the wishing well of the hill. We know this is the wishing well speaking distinctly from Musha because of the weird effect on its text that differentiates the two, despite them having the same color text. Trust me, this confused me a lot at first. Now let's go back to the strange line where the priest says, wishing wells aren't real, Musha. Why would he say this? Well, I believe the answer is simpler than we realize. He doesn't. Think about it. Musha is already losing himself. He's not exactly in the best or healthiest mindset, a man corrupted by the sin and guilt of his actions. He hears voices of his victims constantly ringing throughout his head. I think he hears this almost as some sort of calling or delusion. It's like a preview of the future, since we already know he goes on to become Musha. Rather than this line being something the priest actually says aloud, it is something Musha hears. He is already hearing voices, as he says in the beginning. Of course, I could be wrong, but this interpretation of the video seems to make the most sense. This answer seems pretty straightforward, right? It took me hours to get to in my head, and in my notes. In case anybody gets a better idea than me, I'll explain some of my other initial interpretations. First, I assumed that the being calling Musha that meant that it was some sort of god that knew what the future held for Musha, rather than a priest. But this just doesn't really align well or connect, due to the awkwardness of parts of the convo and because of the being asking for Musha's name. I mean, would an all-knowing god really act this way? So, this idea was scrapped, but recycled in a different way. Wrong interpretation number 2 was that he was speaking to a demon pretending to be a god or something along those lines. No, this was just a dumb idea. Throw away the whole damn thing. I'm just overthinking. We have a fitting interpretation now anyways. I also was way overthinking the ending with the wishing well. Since the wishing well's text was the same color as Musha's, I assume they must have been connected in some way. This had me thinking Musha and the well were actually one and the same. That's impossible because we see read about seeing them both conversing in a wish. I think it's safe to differentiate them by the fact that the wishing well has a weird text effect and Musha doesn't. Alright, with this torturous video out of the way, let's carry on to the final video of chapter 2, simply titled, I'm You. The entirety of I'm You shows us a much more personal side of Musha, one that is deeply afraid. This video takes place directly after a wish. He speaks to someone. Let's read all of his dialogue in the video. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I'm sorry. I just wanted all the people I hurt to go away. Now I'm becoming this. I don't remember any of this. Who you were talking to isn't who I am now. You are inside me. I'm you. Who is he talking to? Well, he's saying it. He's talking directly to himself as he watches himself physically and mentally change from a disturbed, violent, sinful man into a hungry demon. This line in particular, I don't remember any of this. Who you were talking to isn't who I am now, was initially particularly curious to me. I interpret this as him talking to himself mid-change, knowing that it is too late for him to do anything. He made his wish, he must live with the consequences. Let's look at the description, which takes place after the transformation is over. It turns out everything was okay. I'm still here, deep inside of what was me. Yet, no longer. I am still me, even though the outside is different. They think of me as Musha, but they forgot me. I'm sorry. He seems almost content with his transformation, saying everything is okay. This suggests that Musha still has a bit of humanity left inside of him deep down, but we only ever see the demon on the outside. With all of this said and done, this marks the end of chapter 2. I'm very curious to see what chapter 3 has in store for us. Let's go over the entirety of chapter 2 again with a quick digestible summary. Chapter 2 takes us far back in time to around the 16th century. A deeply disturbed and sinful man, whom we don't know the name of, seeks becoming something more than human, to try and move on from the guilt he has from the people he has killed. He searches and finds a legendary well, which grants wishes and has tales written about it. He pleads with the well, wishing to become something more than human. The well agrees, as it always does, and uses the last of its power to transform the man into something beyond human. The man becomes a demon named Musha, and briefly regrets it before any remnant of his humanity is buried deep inside of his demonic body, which he accepts and begins using to hurt people and feed on them. Sometime after this, the wishing well moves underground for some unexplained reason. I still don't really understand this, honestly. I haven't thought about it much. I may potentially revisit it later in this video. It just doesn't seem to hold much relevance, and it's not really ever brought up again. Anyways, the tunnel it moves to ends up becoming the scene of a crime, where one of Musha's first victims kills someone to feed to Musha. Musha's victim in question may very well be the first ever person Musha manipulated and controlled to do his bidding, this person in question being the red archaeologist who kills the yellow archaeologist in broad daylight in the tunnel. The other archaeologists witness this happen and write a warning about Musha in a book, which they leave in the tunnel. The loop continues. Musha continues to plague people's minds and use them until they become weak enough to become his puppets. This connects all the way into the future in chapter 1, when we see Maverick's house has been built over this exact tunnel, where he finds the book the archaeologist left all those years ago. Maverick was just another one of Musha's victims. So, all in all, chapter 2 is essentially the story of Musha and how he came to be. I'm sure you and I are both dying to know what chapter 3, the final chapter, holds in store for us. Chapter 3 begins with arguably the scariest / most horror-esque video in the entire series, simply titled The Chapter 3. We see a mother and a daughter getting ready for bed. It is currently unclear what era of time this chapter or video takes place in, but this bedroom looks fairly modern, so I don't think it's in the distant past like chapter 2 was. Alright, I'll play the video now.
Honey, it's time to go to bed. Okay, Mommy. You're just sitting under my bed, Mommy. Mommy?
Yeah, bro, fuck this image. I hated this. I was mainly watching and studying this video at around 12 a.m. Really did not like looking at this. Well, do it for the gram. The tube. Hello, Musha.
Who are you?
I'm a genie. Want to make a wish?
Okay.
Good. What do you wish for?
I wish for $1 million. Hello? Sir, are you okay?
He wants out before I can grant your wish. I'm hungry. Bring your mother to me. Yeah, I really dislike this long, tense silence with this eerie background music. Alright, let's make sense of all of this. So, some of this is obvious, but what is with the silence at the end? What happens after this dialogue? Well, I think I have an answer. First, let's reverse this song playing in the background. When reversed, it plays Pop Goes the Weasel.
Penny for a spool of thread, penny for a needle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Johnny's got the whooping cough. Jenny's got the measles.
A popular song used in things like Jack-in-the-Box toys or ice cream trucks meant to be alluring to children. Since we are in the POV of the little girl throughout this video, I think all of this is symbolic of the death of the little girl as Musha successfully lures her in and uses her to kill both her and her mother. This is only confirmed by yet another secret video! Who would have guessed? I'm not surprised this time. I mean, I never actually was. I have notes on everything. This is just a script. In the captions, at around 17 seconds, we can find this code. By decoding this through a base 64 decoder, we get this, half a YouTube link. Well, it seems awfully convenient that there is another one of these codes in the description. Putting them together, caption first, and decoding that gives us another YouTube link, which brings us to a video titled They Still Haven't Been Found, in which the captions show a conversation between two people, one named Josh and the other unnamed.
Josh, have you found a lead yet?
No, we haven't been able to find a lead for years. They will remain missing. I'm sorry.
This can't be possible. There's got to be something out there.
I'm telling you, there's nothing.
I know there's a lead somewhere out there. I may have something.
What is it?
There's a cult in the forest.
A cult? This is the first we've ever heard of a cult. Well, it makes sense, what with the story being about a demon and all. We also know that there's been missing people for years. But how exactly does this cult tie into the story as we know it? Along with this dialogue in the captions, the video shows 8 missing posters slowly fade in, faces censored. It is very likely that 2 of these are the mother and child we just saw. Another one of these may also be Maverick. It depends what time we're in. These mysterious disappearances are most definitely the works of Musha and those that he corrupts. I think it is now safe to place this chapter directly after chapter 1 since the cult is a new concept and we seem to be back in modern times after Musha takes control over Maverick. But let's keep watching and see if we can find out more. Let's see if we can learn more about this cult or our situation in the next video titled End. This is actually not the end, by the way. We can immediately tell that we are, in fact, back in modern times. We hear what sounds to be a police radio and see the inside of a car driving towards what seems to be a forest. We can assume that it's a police officer searching for the cult in the forest mentioned in the hidden video we just saw. This video's dialogue is actually in the form of audio, which I will now play the entirety of.
Hey, man, so we've got a problem over here. So I'm at this house, let me just give you the address. It's one, and, this is the guy on the bed. He's, got his head bashed, and there's, like, a metal bar here, like, covered in blood. Pretty disgusting. us to look at it. Well, you're like the detective here, or the whatever, and I kind of need you over here. Can you hurry up, Josh? Please, kind of need you over here. Okay, wait, no, just, please hurry up. Hey, Josh, I hate to murder you here, but, we've got more missing people, you know, but it's, no, man. I don't know how to deal with any of this. I don't think we're gonna, yeah, never mind, forget it. I feel sick, Josh. I feel like something is inside of me. I need your help.
We follow a police officer on the phone with Josh as he finds a crime scene and is killed by Musha. So, this confirms that Josh and the person from the last video are police. Josh is in fact the detective of the missing people case. However, he seemed to stubbornly refuse to search, so he sent the officer from last video who initially came to him with the lead to go search alone, and the officer got cold feet. This leads to his dialogue in the description where he begins to get doubtful.
Josh, the forest is big. I don't think we're gonna find anything in there. I just heard rumors about them. There's a chance they may not exist.
Despite this, he goes to search anyway and dies. Also, the bashed-in head he finds. This doesn't fit anything Musha would do. He consumes people and their memories. We have never seen Musha use brute force to hurt someone. This seems really strange until you remember the cult out here. I think it's safe to assume that this murder is the cult's doing, since it is brute and they clearly used a metal pipe as a weapon. Musha wouldn't need a weapon to kill someone, he just eats them. Considering the cult's murder of a person in this house, and the way we see this officer get corrupted by Musha at the end, for now it's safe to assume that Musha and this cult are working together. I mean, that is the whole idea of a cult. They worship this ugly demon. After this phone call, and after hearing everything, we get the idea that Josh somewhat panics and bring him and the other officers out to the forest. But before that plotline is continued, Musha interrupts with a video called Of. I will say this now. I'm going to go quickly through these final 3 videos. I won't do much reflection on them individually so that I can craft one big reflection of them at the end, of all my ideas cultivated. This video is extremely important to figuring out a huge part of this ARG. His dialogue initially seems threatening, with the line, "I cannot be stopped," but it quickly becomes more personal and reflective.
Even if I am, what is left for me out there? Heaven? Hell? I'm afraid I am unable to die. I have been like this for centuries. I am afraid, but they keep bringing me back.
We then see a cult slowly come into image. One of the cultists chants,
Wake up, Musha. Your time to feed is here. We shall...
before it cuts to this TV. This TV we saw in Chapter 1. We learn what it is through Musha.
Memories forgotten end up here in the abyss.
I think I'm beginning to make sense of it all. The caption is Gnevturisha Ot Eden, which, given the video, seems to be a plea from Musha, because unscrambled, it is everything has to end. 2 more videos, then I will make a final reflection. The next video, again titled The, is atmospheric and slow, just a long still of walking through the woods. This continues the plotline of the police officers searching for the cult at night. We know from the last video that the cult is mid-ritual, so this could lead to a big issue for these officers. We know these are the officers from the dialogue that starts in the description.
I can hear them, Josh. I think they're close.
And is finished in the captions.
I found them, Josh.
Let's go right into the second to last video, which is a direct continuation of this one, called Beginning. We open, and we immediately see the cult mid-ritual once again. However, this is immediately... lit up by the police officers. Musha speaks, "Thank you. I'm free." The final video on the channel is titled Memento. Before we look through the last video, I want to give a huge thank you to my wonderful girlfriend Matty for helping me make this video and for helping me with the whole series. She found the original poem and background song for Memento and overall helped me decipher parts of the meaning of the entire series. We discussed many parts of this together. It really helped me find my own interpretations of it, and it also really let me see certain things under a different light that I wasn't seeing before. I love talking about this with you, so thank you. I love you, babe. With that said, let's analyze Memento. On screen, we see a poem that reads, "Sentient air, lead her not to disarray. She flails, I walk, we are matching memory. I have things she never will, the girl says. So I pull away, toward the last one." This is a small segment of a larger poem also called Memento by Lily Cow about growing and being able to put the past behind you, letting go of painful things that you have carried. The song in the background of this video is Memento Mori by Will Wood. The lyrics are all about how you're going to die. Memento Mori itself literally is a Latin phrase that means, remember, you are going to die. The poem and the song in the background seem conflicting, but that's exactly how this ending is. That's how this is meant to be. Let me give my big final explanation, wrapping up these last 3 episodes and the entire series. In Of, we see that Musha doesn't want this anymore. He only continues his reign of terror because this cult keeps bringing him back. It seems like he comes in cycles. He is awoken by this cult with hunger. He goes, feeds on people, and becomes dormant again before the cult wakes him again. It's a constant cycle that he grows to hate. But this raises a huge question. Musha is so powerful and kills so many people. Why doesn't he just kill the cult that keeps bringing him back? Then he would be dormant forever and be able to rest, and he would put an end to his misery. Sure, I guess you could say things like deep down he fears death, but that's all speculation and nothing we could ever confirm or see. I mean, in the description of, he says everything has to end. He yearns for the sweet release of death. Additionally, after the cult is completely wiped out by the officers, he thanks them for freeing him. So why didn't he do it himself? Why doesn't he kill this cult so he can rest? He could free himself, right? Are the cult members magic and immortal or something? Well, obviously not. These officers fucking annihilated them. I have an answer for you. Let's take a look at all of Musha's victims we have directly seen to analyze how he kills. The red archaeologist, Maverick, and the little girl, 1 per chapter. What is something they all have in common? Musha relies on them to kill and feed him. The answer to our question, why doesn't Musha just kill the cultists, is that Musha always needs a host to kill. Kind of like how a vampire in old folklore needs to be invited into a private home, Musha needs to be invited into somebody. He does this through false promises, like how we see Maverick agrees to do Musha's bidding in return for his missing wife back. We see how the little girl innocently and unknowingly is lured into Musha's promise of $1 million, acting as a genie. We never see the red archaeologist first meeting with Musha, but judging by the fact the red archaeologist is killing people for Musha, we can assume that the same goes for him. He allowed Musha to use and manipulate him to get something he wanted. This cult couldn't be killed by Musha because they are his cult. They know how he works, they know of his deceit and won't fall for it. They won't invite him in to kill them. You could argue that Musha could have taken control of a person like Maverick and used them to go kill the cult, but remember how extensive this search for the cult was. Nobody knew what was causing the missing people, though we do know that there were rumors. But it took a whole police force and the death of an officer for the police to finally search and find the cult. A singular person would have extreme difficulty finding them, and even if they did, the cult would just kill them like they did to that dead person the officer found in the house. That could even be why that person was dead in a house on the outside of the cult's forest. But then, how does this cult know of him, Musha, and how he works? Who is the cult? Well, there's a few theories I have for this. The least interesting of the 3 is that we don't know. They're just a cult. People we've never seen or heard of until this chapter. A group of characters introduced for the plot device. My next theory, less likely and a bit more stupid and unrealistic, was that it was the group of archaeologists that ran away after the red one killed the yellow one. But then I remembered that that event took place like around the 16th century-ish, way back when. But what I was thinking is that they had realized the power Musha had and sought to control it, so they learned how. But yeah, I don't know if this one makes much sense. Let's scrap this one. But my final theory regarding the cult, I think, is the most accurate, likely, and in-depth. The cultists are all the people who have devoted their life to Musha. Not willingly, but the people he turned into puppets. That would make Maverick, the red archaeologist, and the little girl all members of this cult. People who had their brains corrupted by him. Remember that these people stay around, even when their memories die. Their bodies remain for Musha's complete mind control. We see this happen to Maverick at the end of Chapter 1, when his old self is forgotten, and he remains stuck in the abyss. When Musha says Oublier, and Maverick becomes mindlessly devoted to him. The specific line I would like to reference to support this theory is,
You will take over this planet and rule as you were once made to. I will follow you and follow every step of the way.
this is how a cultist would act. I believe all victims of his corruption are cultists now, and their old selves are stuck in the abyss. This goes for Musha, too. And you may be wondering, how are they still alive? Because if we are to go by this theory, the Red Archaeologist is from hundreds of years ago. Well, remember that Musha himself doesn't have a determined lifespan. He doesn't get old or die of old age, but he can still be stopped with certain methods. Well, I think that applies to these people too. Remember that inside of all these people are parts of Musha. He eats their memories and puts a bit of himself in there, as we see when people say they feel him under their skin. I believe this allows them to outlast time since they have a part of him inside of them, but they can still be stopped using certain methods, like lethal force, as we see at the end. This theory explains why it randomly cuts to the abyss during the cultist chanting. These cultists' real memories are stuck in the abyss, dead and forgotten. Their bodies and fake minds are mindlessly devoted. Now, let's move on to the ending. Musha is freed from the never-ending cycle the cultists put him through because they wouldn't let him die. Musha's own corruption of these people came back to haunt him, never-ending, until it did end. This ending is conflicting. It is good for Musha. He thanks the officers for freeing him, but is it really good for him? I cannot be stopped. Even if I am, what is left for me out there? Heaven? Hell? I'm afraid I am unable to die. Musha isn't free. He's been freed of the world above, but he will forever remain trapped in the abyss. He cannot die, not even here. This is why all the titles of the videos in Chapter 3, excluding Memento, because that's its own thing, form the sentence, the end of the beginning. Oublier isn't about Maverick, or the well, or any of the victims. Oublier, in its entirety, focuses on Musha, and is about memories. It is about Musha's never-ending suffering. He will remain tortured in the abyss until the end of time. Do you think Musha deserves this? Do you think he deserves death, or does he deserve infinite life? Which is better, which is worse? The ending of Oublier could either be seen as good or bad, depending on who you are, depending on your morals and values. So, the interpretation is yours. The final thing I'd like to do in this video is construct an organized chronological timeline of events based on the videos. Let's wrap this up. Number 1. I feel lost and scared. I must seek the well upon the hill to heal me from the voices of my head. Follows a troubled, disturbed, and murderous man who has sinned. He wants to surpass humanity and become something more. He speaks to a priest who warns him before he goes to search for a wishing well. 2. I wish. The man goes to a wishing well, where he wishes to be something more than human. Riddled with sins, the man starts to become a demonic entity named Musha. 3. I'm you. Musha feels temporary guilt and regret for his wish, and reveals a more sad and personal side of himself. Around this time, Musha claims his first known victim, the Red Archaeologist. 4. Upsticks. For some reason, the wishing well, which is a sentient being, moves underground to a tunnel. Some archaeologists, including the red one, find it and are as confused as anybody else would be, including me. 5. Things are not the way they seem. The Red Archaeologist kills another to feed to Musha. The remaining ones write a warning in a book, throw it into the tunnel, and escape. 6. Grief. Jump ahead in time about 300 to 400 years. Presumably lots of victims in between as Musha's cult gets larger and larger, continuing the unstoppable cycle. Well, I guess it is stoppable with guns, but anyway, Maverick agrees to do the bidding of Musha after the mysterious disappearance of his wife in return for her back. Maverick becomes another victim. His house has been built over the old tunnel the well was once in. 7. Tape 214. Maverick kills victims for Musha, slowly losing his memories, forgetting his wife and his purpose. 8. The story about the thing telling me to do things I don't want to do. Maverick finds the warning book left by the archaeologist in the tunnel underneath his house, and the well is gone again. Sure, whatever, fuck that thing. I'm convinced at this point it has no reason or meaning. Maybe I'm wrong. He disregards the warning, and Musha continues corrupting his mind. 9. Inside, not a possession. Musha is under Maverick's skin, eating his memories and making him weak. 10. The end has come upon all things. Maverick's mind is fully destroyed, and his memories end up in the abyss, while his body on the surface remains. Musha's hunger is temporarily satiated, and he becomes dormant before the cult wakes him again. You may still be wondering, if he wanted it to end, why would he continue to feed? Because the small time after he feeds is the only rest he gets. He thought he was stuck in an infinite loop, and that was his only temporary escape. 11. Musha corrupts a little girl, seeking out more victims. Her mother and her go missing. She becomes part of the cult. 12. They still haven't been found. One of the officers catches on to the cult after hearing rumors. We learn about numerous recent disappearances and missing people. We at least know some of these people: Maverick's wife, Maverick, the little girl, and her mom. The police force is notified of the possibility of the cult. 13. End. An officer drives out to the woods to search for any sign of the cult, where he finds a corpse killed by the cult at an old house near the forest. He is on the phone with the lead detective of the missing persons case, Josh, when he is killed and corrupted by Musha. He goes missing. 14. Musha lays dormant temporarily until his cult performs a ritual that wakes him again. He expresses his yearning for death despite his inability to end his suffering in any way. The officers approach the forest after the officer goes missing. 15. The officers search through the dark woods when they can hear the cult in the distance chanting. They find them. 16. Beginning. Mid-ritual, the cops find the cult summoning Musha and kill every single last cult member with lethal force. Musha is freed from his constant torturous loop. 17. Memento. A conflicted ending. Musha's torture above is over, but he will continue to live on in the abyss for eternity. The morals of this are a bit nuanced depending on your stance. I'm curious to hear what other people think about it. And 18. Oublier. This video fits perfectly at the end. Back in chapter 1, I thought it was from Maverick's point of view, how horrible his life has been ever since meeting Musha. But this is from Musha's point of view. I believe he is talking to himself. He hates himself for the curse he placed on himself, which was to become something more than human. Ever since Musha met Musha, his life has been horrible and torturous. Ever since he corrupted those people, he was put in a constant loop of agony, death, and hate, and it's all his fault. So, what does it all mean? What is the purpose of Oublier? Is it just meant to tell this old, folky, scary story about a demon? Or is it a metaphor for something beyond that? Well, I'll leave the meaning underneath to you, the viewer. I'm just the guy that deciphers the story. Thank you for sticking it out through this entire video. The script alone took me about a week to make and hours of stress and overthinking. The video has taken me around 2 weeks. I hope you enjoyed it. This was certainly a fun challenge and an ARG that I had never seen anybody talk about before. The story came together in a really interesting way, and I'm glad you're here. Always remember, memento mori. So make the most of it.